Hello, name's Annan. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to be playing a build that I played in Boss Rush ages ago. Decades, in fact. I believe this was number 15, move first, think second. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. It's a fitting name, honestly. Now, this is an adaptation to the Chaos Trials. Usually what I do with a build is I assemble it specifically to play in Boss Rush, because any build I play in Boss Rush has to be at least a little viable. It has to be at least mediocre at killing enemies. It has to be able to finish off mini-bosses, and then bosses, and actual late-game bosses too. And then usually I will go ahead and maybe refine that build and take it to the Chaos Trials and make a fun build out of that. Usually builds that are all-rounders that can at least kill things are decent and fun. Now, sometimes when a build is incredibly janky, so bad damage-wise, or synergy-wise, or like HP, sustain, defense-wise, for example, that I shouldn't ever play that in Boss Rush. Well, sometimes I actually do, just to fiddle around a bunch and test my limits, but usually I take that jank straight up to the Chaos Trials, as long as it's fun. Now, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a Boss Rush build that was supposed to remain in Boss Rush, and we're going to play that in the Chaos Trials, just because I'd like to combine this build with a certain starter relic that I have never tried out and I think could be really janky and goofy and fun, quite frankly, to use. So let's do just that. Today's build is called Dashes Only, or alternatively, as in the original, Move First, Think Second. It is a purely dash themed build. We're going to be trying to use our dash, or rather our dashes, plural, as our main damaging ability. And we're going to be using our signature and our standard mainly, but also our basic as supportive abilities to support that cause. And that having been said, quite a short introduction, let's get right into the build. For our rope, of course, we're going to be running the Temper Rope. Why so, you might ask? Well, quite an obvious reason, duh. This is a movement-based build, so Temper Rope thematically fits perfectly. But, more importantly, we're gonna be running this because of the immense cooldown reduction boost this grants you right out of the gates. 15% cooldown reduction when upgraded, I believe it's 22.5%. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's 22.25 or something like that. I don't know by heart. This is, on paper, my favorite rope in the game. It's applicable to all combo builds, and it generally works with every single build. Cooldown reduction is great. Casting your fun spells more often is very, very fun. Even though they don't deal a lot more damage, technically you get a higher damage per second ratio, as being able to cast your things more in a certain given period of time provides a higher damage output, right? But that's beside the fact. We want the cooldown reduction. We want to be able to use our dash, actually use the ability of our dash more often as humanly possible. So this is the only viable choice. In the original, I believe I did pick Adventure Rope, which makes a lot more sense for Boss Rush, because there you need a lot of damage. You need to actually kill your enemies. You need to use and abuse these short periods of time of late game bosses, these short windows of opportunity that they grant you. They provide, and you need to act. And you need to act quickly, fast, and viciously. You need to deal a very high amount of damage in a short period of time on a build that can exactly do that, so the Venture Rope would make a lot more sense, also granting 10% increased damage but reducing the max HP. However, these are the Chaos Trials, and we have another issue that Boss Rush doesn't exactly know well, which is rooms, and rooms that lock you in them, rooms that crowd you with swarms, with waves of enemies coming at you. And so the Temper Rope just turns out to be a lot more useful in my opinion, not only because it grants you cooldown reduction and the run speed that nobody really cares about, not only because it is thematically on par with everything, but also because it allows for you to crowd control your enemies just a whole lot better. Rooms specifically, but also mini bosses, and then ultimately kill bosses a little bit faster. Also, it looks gorgeous, don't at me. For our starting relic, here is the strongly desired item I always wanted to try because I feel like it is hot garbage. But I have yet to see a build made around this, and today we are here just to prove a point that this is in fact a very bad item that you probably shouldn't use as your starter relic, let alone base your build on. But we're going to be doing that today. It is a miscellaneous item. It is, of course, the Boots of Frenzy. Defeating enemies grants a chance to temporarily add unlimited charges to your dash Arcana. Just spam space, or spam whatever the dash button is. I can't actually think of it right now. Is it A? I believe it's A. Forever, as long as you proc this. You'll hear a ding when it goes off, and then you get 99 charges on your dash, and you can go nuts as long as that dash actually does something useful. This is completely useless in boss fights for obvious reasons, so I would never play this in boss rush. Don't do it. It's abysmal. It does absolutely nothing at all. Sometimes even against mini bosses who actually spawn adversaries. So yeah, let that be said. In the original version of this build, instead I used the Soccer Cleats, an item that makes a lot more sense, which buffs the damage. It amplifies your damage of all the Arcana throughout the board, because all of them are movement Arcana by 15%, which is a lot better, especially when combined with Adventure Robe and items like Double Trouble. That's already huge damage increase. But we're not gonna be having that. We're gonna be going for this absolute jank, which doesn't even have the slightest bit of a guarantee to work out and actually win a run, bringing it home. Now, is the chance on the item? Yes, it is. 20% chance, so it is rather high. But only every 1 in 5 enemies grants, theoretically, mathematically, I should probably put it, 100% chance to proc this. Killing 5 enemies in your average room. Imagine your average room with a bunch of knights in them. You don't have 5 enemies. You have like 3, right? Maybe 4. Usually, there's not that many enemies in this game, especially with those really hard rooms with only a handful of elemental enemies who are also really hard to kill. So you would need to proc this a lot more often. Say 40% would be adequate. And then this would actually be a considerable item. But only with like a handful of dashes. We'll get to that now. Because our choice of dash is going to be incredibly important to the rest of the build. Let's start with our basic, however. It's just a supportive ability. It is the Ice Dagger, a movement ability and a melee ability. Very good ability by itself. It grants a lot of mobility. It's very nice for that, and that's what we are mainly going to be using it for. It's just a damage ability disguised as a move ability, or is it vice versa? Not sure. We're going to be using it for that for the most part. Since it is also a mobility item, we can easily enhance it with items like Soccer Cleats, and we are of course hoping to find that item eventually. We might. We shall see. Now, this is just a dagger in front of you, bit of a shank. You're trying to shank your enemies. It has a decent range. For a melee Arcana, has great mobility. Again, I cannot stress that enough. It is very fast. It pierces enemies, though it has a very narrow area of effect. Looks like so. Deals very, very high damage. And then when enhanced, which is a very nice enhancement, you really want to have that as soon as possible. It's just a great damage up. It throws out a piercing dagger on the final strike. So 2 of these, in fact. 2 of these are going to be used on the enhancement for essentially double the damage, and a great ranged ability that would strike enemies, also piercing them for a lot of extra damage. It's very nice. We're just going to be using it to maneuver around a bunch, stacking enemies up, stun locking them for a short period of time. You know, just as a simple support Arcana. Let's move on to the main Arcana of today, though. Now, you have plenty of choices, granted, to run a fully dash-themed build and then actually come up with a dash that works decently well in most situations, as a boss killer, as a mini boss killer, as a crowd control tool, as an escape tool, just as a general tool for whatever purpose you can think of that is remotely roguelike related. However, to me, there is only one viable option in this game due to one inherent property that no other dashes provide. It is, of course, the Chaotic Rift. No, this doesn't deal any damage. This is the last option you should consider. It doesn't deal any damage. You can't make a build around it. It doesn't even have a cooldown. Don't pick it. No. It's Chaotic Echoes, one that you might have probably never heard of. I don't think a lot of people use this nearly enough. It is incredible. I love this ability. Now, it doesn't count as a projectile, doesn't count as melee, it's just a mobility ability, just a dash that deals damage. It leaves behind these 2 echoes, which sort of imitate your movement, like so. And they do that multiple times. They have a set duration. You can usually do it up to, what, 4 times? 3 times by the looks of it. Yes, 3 times, maybe 4 times in edge cases, but this is the usual case. It deals okay damage, it has piercing, has okay crowd control, it can hit many enemies at a given time. But most importantly, this thing does one thing. It has one innate property that nothing else in this game has, that nothing else in this game can do, and it's quite well hidden. Let's read the description. Envelops you in an offensive barrier around you as you dash. Project spectral copies of yourself that attack in the direction of your next dash. So this deals contact damage. You can use this indefinitely, even when it's off cooldown. Like so. You always deal the contact damage, which is fantastic. This is the only dash in the game that technically doesn't have a cooldown on a damaging ability. Fantastic. Absolutely. You love this. Also, combined with the boots, you're going to be having a lot of these echoes at times, just for essentially triple the damage, which is great. Now, the only thing we need is actually high base damage to make that work, and a little bit of extra cooldown reduction. So that is why Chaotic Echoes is gonna be the choice for my main Arcana here today. Quite simple, to be honest. Alright, let's just bust through these supportive Arcana here. For our standard, we're going to be using Rushing Typhoon, just another mobility ability, also melee ability, can be easily enhanced. It's just a nice mobility tool. It's like a long range dash, which also kicks back enemies, like so, kind of stun locking them. When enhanced, I believe this, yeah, it just increases the tumbling duration of that little storm there at the end. You don't have to hit it always, it's just an extra long range dash for dodging abilities, which is nice. Comes in handy against bosses, comes in handy rarely ever when grouping up enemies from afar. Only like this, really, it works. As soon as I touch one of those enemies, it's gonna behave very weirdly, so, and not exactly group them up all the time how I want to, but usually it does what you want it to do. And it's just great for support purposes, mainly into boss fights, mainly as just the wind element helps you beat an earth element, but yeah, it is really just that simple. You can pick anything you like here, quite literally anything you like, any jump, a permafrost bulwark, a long range ability, explosive fireball for example, even though that wouldn't be in line with the rest of the build. Just pick whatever you like, honestly. And then for our signature, again, pretty much same idea here. It's just a dash-like ability. So this is a movement ability, also a melee ability again. It has 2 charges right at the get-go. It's Gravity Onslaught. This ability will dash through a bunch of enemies, very similar to your main dash. It does exactly the same thing, in fact, except without the echoes, and it leaves these chaos bars, so kind of the chaos debuff, the chaos equivalent of a shock debuff or a on fire debuff, for example, behind on enemies, dealing okay damage to them, like so. Stun locks them for a short period of time, effectively deals very good damage to them. Now what you want to do is just a quick occasional combo of back and forth, like so, to deal some nice numbers of damage, and once you charge this up, it does that by itself for a while. Similar to your main dash, now with echoes. Like so. Deals some very nice damage. You could easily use this as your main ability, so it does work as a backup plan, though I don't think we're gonna be relying on that too much, as we overall just have a very movement focused build here, and we're going to be using all of these abilities a fair bunch. Mainly our signature, because it's charged and it's very quick, and our dash, but also our stun occasionally when we need to, and our basic when we need a bunch of crowd control and find ourselves trapped or cornered, and then we actually somehow need some help. But that should rarely ever be the case, as all of these pierce through enemies and they are very fast, they make you very nimble, and they have very low cooldowns thanks to the tempo rope. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the specifics. Starting with the intended build playstyle, of course. In terms of intended build playstyle, we want to be super aggressive. Climb up enemies, so just wait a little bit for them to climb up just enough so you can stun lock all of them at any given time with your main dash ability or one of your support abilities, which all hit very similarly. A very clumped up group of enemies. If enemies are even just slightly split apart, like here, it's very hard for you to control them. Like, I can dash through these repeatedly, but there's no guarantee that the third one won't attack me while I'm doing this. I have to hit all of them, or at least wait for them to group up, and then I can hit all of them. Somewhat similar to something like this. I'll just dash around the place, focusing on whoever needs my immediate attention right away. So we have to prioritize important targets that would otherwise stun lock us, like rogues, for example, or like knights. Against rogues, I don't like just killing them by dashing, because very fast rogues will actually interrupt you while doing this. You need to use all your tricks, mainly something like Blazing Onslaught, which leaves a debuff on them, which also damages them while you're dashing through them, but that's not neat enough usually. Like, it can be enough, it can stun lock them, but don't rely on it. Play safe against rogues, just stay back a little bit, wait for them to teleport, and then unload on them and group them up. Always be wary of them. Always be wary of their existence. They might just teleport. Therefore they might just teleport behind you, interrupt you, and stun like you to death. You have 500 HP, you shouldn't be worried about that too much. As long as you can proc your Boots of Frenzy, you can just dash around the place without a worry in the world. Really. Okay, with that having been said, moving on to potential problems. Potential problems, obviously, include a lack of damage on your part, as the only thing that really deals heavy damage early on are your standard and your signature, as per usual, because that's what they are designed to do innately, right? Dashes are just support tools, and so are basics. Basics are support tools to charge your signature bar, usually, and signatures are supposed to be main damage spells. Usually. What is wrong with me today? I can't talk, but that's okay because we are moving so fast. We have already forgotten about all of those mistakes. So damage is a little bit of an issue here. Other than that, well, the fact that we are quite short range, that we don't have projectile destruction, that we don't have great crowd control, or range. Again, we can't bait enemies out of their narrow-ass rooms. We can't exactly run circles around them and laugh at them and just point fingers and throw our fireballs and explode them. No, we have to actually go toe-to-toe with them, as toe-to-toe as one could go. More toe-to-toe than on your average melee build, because there you hit them and then you run away, but here we can't do that. The process of hitting them includes the process of running away. It's the same thing, virtually, for this build. So yeah, you are always in grave danger when you play this build, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that pans out in an actual run here. So let's quickly move on to my favorite section, being the recommended items and Arcana. In terms of Arcana, anything movement related is good. You love it, especially that one Wind Arcana, which explodes around you the Scales of Babylon in a huge AoE, knocking enemies away, slowing them, dealing large amounts of damage, and making you incredibly fast. Faster the more enemies you hit. It's great. You love it. It's a great escape tool, great damage tool, great cooldown reduction tool. It's great for absolutely everything you do. You really want to find that. Also synergizes well with your other Wind Arcana, so you can potentially amplify your wind damage, which is great. Both of them deal great damage. Other than that, again, anything movement related is good. Anything that gives you slightly more range, therefore versatility, for different given situations is great. You like a permafrost bulwark or jumps, for example, which are essentially dashes that give you iframes, unlike the dashes that you are currently using, which are meant to deal damage and only meant to deal damage, or meant to be used as a dash out of this short-sighted situation type of tool. Whereas a dash that gives you an iframe, like a jump, I'm really trying to call jumps dashes, but they're really not. Jumps are jumps. Jumps are overpowered. A jump is essentially just an elongated dash with a much larger hitbox that also grants you a lot of iframes, but leaves you a lot more vulnerable. So there's the trade-off. A dash is very short-sighted, very short period of time, allowing for you to dodge something, whereas a jump is a very long period of time that dodges something, but afterwards it leaves you vulnerable. So in terms of Arcana, you want those things. Pretty much just the regular stuff. In terms of items, you want the soccer cleats, the aforementioned. You like cooldown reduction. You like items that relate to having different elements, as you start off with 3 elements. Of which the Chaos element you can't find before the first loop in a run, so you are guaranteed to not find another Chaos element for the remainder of your standard, your average run. So you will probably find up to 2 other elements. A Captain's Ring, for example, would be great. You also generally like anything movement related, or cooldown related, or even signature charge related, as your signature can be incredibly strong, but don't let that become the main focus of your build. Yes, I know, Blazing Onslaught is very fun, and I love using it too, but don't focus on just that. At least use your dash for the early game portion, and then for the late game you can escalate every situation with your signature charge generation and your crazy, crazy damage on that thing. I love to do that. I love to use it as a reliable boss slayer in the end game. So yeah, we're gonna be trying to stack up a little bit of everything, mostly base damage and cooldown reduction, but also a little bit of signature charge. I am not a great fan of defense on this build by any means. You definitely do not need more defense than you already have. 500 HP is plenty. You just want a lot of extra damage, whether in the form of cooldown reduction or straight up base damage increases. And then for late game, you want a reliable way to kill your bosses. As I said, for example, signature charge or very high base damage. You need a lot of base damage. These abilities have minute base damage, so you need a lot to make them work. Stones, for example, work as well. They work decently well. They can kind of screw you up in different situations where they freeze an enemy, you unfreeze them right away, for example, or they don't exactly work in your favor all the time, but they do generally work very well, as you are always very close to enemies. Same for armor pieces that have a reactive effect, like the reactive vine mail, for example. When you're hit, it essentially has the earthen stone effect, right? And so on and so forth. So Brilliant Balloon, for example, would do the same thing. Those are quite helpful, as you might get hit occasionally, and you will usually find yourself in the middle of a fight while being hit, surrounded by enemies, which will then take a bunch of extra damage from your items. Sprites are okay, they give you slightly more range. It's essentially like an extra ability, nice into bosses just for a tiny bit of extra damage, but not exactly worth mentioning or considering unless you got plenty of money, too much to spend. Other than that, I guess healing is fine, as you might occasionally take some damage. A little bit of armor is fine, again for the same reasons as, well, just mentioned. And yeah, I think that about concludes this section. There's not too much to be said here. Alright, so let's just get right into it, have a good time, and see if we can make something great happen today. Okay, Zeal, Shu, and Freya. Freya is always very annoying. This is, after all, a pure melee build. It's not gonna be easy to not be frozen. Okay, stunlock our enemies. And then just fuck off. There's our first signature. We should be seeing a lot of those over the course of our run. It's very easy to generate signature. Memory chainmail. I don't think I want that. Projectile damage isn't super helpful by any means, so I'm considering picking up the braces. These might come in handy. Countering attacks for a lot of extra signature charge. Generally very helpful. I don't think I'll be finding the time to counter effects while dashing around like a menace, not really paying attention to anything except my my targeted location. I don't think you generally find the time to destroy projectiles in between or counter attacks. neat little trick there. We can just cast our signature, but it won't take off because it's not a jump. It can't leap across pits. It will just remain at the edge of the ledge. Now early on we should have a fairly easy time here because we have okay damage, but this issue of not having sufficient damage to kill enemies consistently is going to arise pretty soon. Give it the first 2 stages, and then around the time of the first boss, or maybe even... Let me just focus here. Maybe even past the first boss at the... somewhere during the second dungeon, you should feel that your damage is quite lackluster. You should start to feel that, to say the very least. Okay, let's head up here first, into the dead end. Try and grab some more money. We don't care much about casting that signature, we're gonna receive plenty of healing here. Just push him, it's a little faster. Use our Blazing Onslaught as we expect over here to be the shop, giving us plenty of downtime to get our cooldowns back up for the boss fight. Still considering grabbing one of these. I guess I'll just take the memory chainment, as that is gonna come in quite handy when dealing with bosses generally, especially with Freya. I do expect to be hit. I do want to play very aggressively after all. Whoops. Didn't dash enough there. Moving on. Cool. Don't really intend to sell any items here, so Crema is yet again here, wrong time, wrong place. Cancel them. Evening gloves are not super important to get to this build. I don't intend to use my basic a lot, but I will still try and retrieve them as soon as possible here. Or as soon as reasonably possible. Gonna use the wind ability, as I feel like this is not gonna be super helpful with the second wave of enemies here. Also want to use Blazing Onslaught to interrupt enemies. I feel like that's a little faster. Same with the wind ability when I am long distance from enemies, which is quite helpful with interrupting small groups of enemies and then bursting them down. Want to dash it slightly early on so I can do this and then stun lock them with the Blazing Onslaught, so there's no way they can stun lock me back. Scales of Babylon. That's very, very good. I love to see that. I don't think I should buy that right away. I might have some money issues here. We'll see. If I find a Glove of Midas, I'm gonna regret buying that early on. I keep missing my auto attack. Very annoying. Okay, group them up at least a little bit, like so. Hit the important targets and finish them off. Important target there being the furnace, as I can't exactly dodge it while right up its face. I will kill them manually here, just for a little bit of signature charge for the next room. Group them up, and then unleash. Group them up, wait the shield out, and unleash. Use the gravity onslaught, it's just so good as a debuff. Very nice as an interrupt. Use the basic, it's a lot more convenient to use there. Push them around. Come here, big boy. And there's our shot. Sweet. Jewelry box is very nice for healing. We do like that a lot. Ice damage is not super useful. We don't want to rely on the ice dagger too much. Tapping gloves is neither, because again, for the aforementioned reason. Mobius Cool is okay. It's a lot of cooldown reduction when we proc our signature, which is great. I believe this doesn't reset our signature though, right? Ah, it does. In that case, it is nice. I also like the flip-flops. These would be great if we were to never use our signature, but we do like using it for damage, so we don't care much about using the flip-flops defensively. We just want to spend all of our signature charge immediately. So here we are in a bit of a pickle. I do like the Quill a lot. I think Quill needs to go on the deck because it resets Gravity Onslaught when we use the charge Gravity Onslaught, which is fantastic. That's a lot of extra damage and mobility and versatility. This is very much applicable to any given situation, especially boss fights. I am thinking of boss fights specifically here, which is our greatest trouble. How do we beat boss fights? I think Jewelry Box is decent, then we don't have to care so much about taking damage. We should unlock the portal room, which should be right about here. And then try and finish the floor so we can actually make a little bit of extra money. I know that's a dead end over there, most likely, but we shall take a look just because of potential extra money findings, just so we can afford buying the Scales of Babylon for 175, which is a lot of gold this early on. Quite a lot of gold. I believe I also missed a trap room somewhere that I didn't proc. Not too sure about that. Love the Alchemist's Son, that's gonna be very helpful. Other than that, we don't have any great items in here. We do have the Last One's Gauntlet, which we could have combined with the other gauntlet, but I don't care about that. I don't want to play around that. I would love the stopwatch when combined with the key, but we don't have the option of buying the cursed key here, so I'm not gonna buy the stopwatch either. I suppose we're gonna take our sweet, sweet time with floors, huh? Let's see, is there any money here? Not exactly. But we will receive a little bit of a boost in terms of money from the Alchemist Zone. I don't think it's gonna be enough, but place your bets now, ladies and gents. Place your bets. Kill the big guy. Hit diagonally this time, as last time this didn't work. Okay, this seems to not actually reset our Blazing Onslaught, which is a little bit of a bummer. Okay, of course we didn't make enough money, but still it does reset one of our dash charges, which still makes it decently useful. We can't afford anything, kind of sucks, but that's okay. Moving on, we don't technically need Scales of Babylon. Any was unenhanced anyway, so it would have been a liability. Having to enhance that, would have made for a total of 275 gold on one Arcana, which is decently powerful, but still, is it that strong? Is it as good as getting a Moby Skull, for example? Not sure. You be the judge of that. That was a mistake. I should have used my dash first, so it would restore. It would restore. It's kind of hard to talk right now. I guess it's kind of hard to talk right now because I gotta try to focus a lot here. This is not the easiest build to play by any means. It's after all a bit of a self-opposed challenge. Self-imposed, not opposed. My god, talking today. Am I right? Summer is coming, and I'm not a summer person. My brain starts to melt at any point beyond cold degrees. I like the cold. I like it a lot. Just damage them a little bit with the Gravity Onslaught. Bait out their attacks. And then move through. Try to abuse our echoes. Oh shit. Not doing a great job. Oh. Bad timing on that. Maybe we should allow ourselves to use our basic a little more than not at all. Evasion. I think I'm gonna be dealing okay with evasion. Group them up together with the ranger there, because ranger might come in at a very annoying time. I think we just evaded there. Not sure how. Don't honestly really care. I'm not going to be having HP issues here. Okay. Final room, let's do it. Sure, why not? Let's just group them up. We can trade a bunch of HP, we don't mind doing that. Keep that signature charge active for now. So we can get rid of those pesky melee globes. I hate those. Okay. Igniting Sprite, that's sweet. That's a nice damage boost. Also love the fact that it's of the fire element. So it does come in quite handy against the boss and the second level of the dungeon. Okay. Crown isn't super helpful. I do love the unicorn tail, it's just useless. Helm of Midas is actually decent. I think Arcana upgrades could be much more powerful though than these items. Come out of your corner. That works. The Cardist. Still need to find Iris. Come on, you guys. Wait, is there actually no one in here? That's irritating. Very irritating. It's a mimic. Now this is a tough spot to be in. Ah, come on, I got cancelled. Couldn't destroy the projectile there. Just dodge the arrows. Okay, we do want to engage with the Onslaught first, because then it stun locks the enemy, so they can't deal contact damage to us while dashing into them. I don't want to have less damage, thank you very much. Again, Onslaught here first because of the evasion, that way we dodge it entirely. Now just dodge them into the... sorry, shove them into the pit. Told you, Tarkin is very difficult today. For some reasons unbeknownst to me. Put them up. Like so. And we should be good to go. Same here. As you can tell, we can in fact have more than just 2 echoes. If we so choose. Okay, that's 1 upgrade, which means I can trade at the Cardist. Give me some good stuff. Okay, Dragon is pretty nice and destroys projectiles. Very, very good. Love the Lightning Ball, because that helps a lot with beating the final boss here. Guess I'll be taking those 2. Dragon is just the best here by far. It's very versatile, very, very strong as well. Easily the strongest choice there, in my opinion. Helm of Midas is just going to come in handy at some point, potentially, so I'm going to pick it up. Better now than never. I don't think I want the crown. I don't think I'm going to have to risk anything here, for the most part. I haven't found a double toe, for example. So, I mean, I still could. I suppose it'd be fair. I'm gonna be having plenty of money, but I already have a decent lot. I guess I'll grab it. They do synergize. These items synergize quite well with one another. I have a Flowered item with the Cavern Sunny Shoes, so being low HP has a few benefits. Memory Chamber, so I can tank a lot. And then a Morbius Quill, so I can go full ham and get resets to tank even more. Or play more aggressively, I should say. 2-2, I do intend to hurry things up here just a little bit, because I feel like this is quite a sluggish run so far. Let's pick up on the pace. Maybe get a little bit of extra damage, huh? That'd be great. Damage up would be right about now. Oh, I missed it. Just spam the dragon. It's much stronger than everything we've got anyway. And has a great reach, additionally. Don't fall into the trap of dashing into the attack. Just be patient, wait it out. Don't even approach them from the side, as that might lead to some issues sometimes. Again, there's never a guarantee that they won't hit you, unless you know these spots exactly. No items there, really, just a little bit of extra armor. I don't consider that very worth my time or important. Kind of annoying, in fact. Keep our distance and then just cast this. Beware of the tornado, don't want to be hit by an attack there. Okay, let's pick up some movement speed and then run away. Let's head to the left here. Just loosely run across the stage. I don't have very good aim today. Don't know what it is. Always try to group them up, as this dash doesn't grant you iframes, so when you dash into enemies while they attack you, you will take damage. Luckily, this is not exactly an ability that can be cancelled, because it has many charges, and a long duration on the echoes, and no downtime on the damage dealt, so yeah, you don't have to worry about being cancelled or anything. Moving on, where do we go? Towards the bottom here. We do want to find a Nox and then just piss off, probably. Potentially also an Iris would be fantastic. Okay, you do whatever you want. Into the bit you go. Come on, I was gonna proc that. Still want to find the merchants, which are right around the corner. That's a nice upgrade, I'll take it. It's just extra damage. And synergy with the luxury handbag. If I ever come across that, it's a Nox. I don't care about HP again. The barrels, man. The barrel placement. Oh god, these items are obnoxious. Terrible. Absolutely awful. The only thing remotely interesting is the Horn Halo, so I can play more aggressively. But other than that, no damage ups. Nothing in here, really. I hate that. This is bad. And the stopwatch again. Oh boy. Let's pick up the armor and then just go for it. want to get rid of the spearmen first. Cancel the dragon, because my signature deals way more damage. Okay, we have plenty of money, but nothing to really do with it. We could grab crit chance, but what good does it do? Oh, this is really annoying. Bummer. I should have picked up the Horn Halo first, but honestly, again, don't care about HP. I do heal off of picking up gems as well, so shouldn't have to worry about that too much, as we are also approaching a boss stage here, so we get plenty of healing. We still have evasion and low HP. We have a revive once per stage. We really don't have to be concerned about HP. We can play as aggressively as we prefer. Come on, commit! Don't run away, bitch! Come on! Okay, Dragon Circuit, that's not that bad. That's okay damage. It's way better than the Ball Lightning because I don't have to charge it, and it's not single target damage. It has a huge AoE. So many dragoons. I won't need a lot of extra cash here, so I don't have to be too concerned with full clearing. Come on. I don't usually mind getting rid of a Horn Halo early on, just so I have more room for better items that actually do something. It's not a bad item by any means. Helps you play much more aggressively. And sometimes that is just what you want. That is unenhanced, so I can trade it somewhere. Cool, I'll do like that. I will be keeping... We'll probably be keeping the Ball of Lightning, because it is actually quite useful as a first strike tool. Or when I have a downtime during boss fight into Freya. I believe it technically also deals higher damage than the Dragon Circuit into Freya. No Mimic, that's surprising. I see an Ox, I am happy. Get barreled, boys! Dragon is very helpful for crowd control. Throw that projectile. Try and keep them stun locked so they don't teleport. Or at least not let them teleport, period. Now the neat thing about Dragon is that it has a huge hitbox while also destroying all projectiles, or rather eating them up, consuming them, that fly towards you. So you can cover not only a huge area but also stun lock enemies, but also destroy any projectiles coming your way, and therefore summoners are a bit of a joke. Hello. I see something very interesting in here. Now, this doesn't count as a melee ability, but these three do. So, and the dragon doesn't. Kind of annoying. So I could enhance them using a Dark Katana. Love the Spell Thieves, and then we have a lot more defense in here too. Let's wait before picking anything up though. This seems like the floor of all floors. I just jinxed myself. Come on, what is this Nox shop? That's abysmal again. What is all this crap? Who actually picks any of that? Oh wow, what a room. Do we need more money? No, but are we gonna get it? Yeah, I'm sure, why not? Flak Gauntlet, that's okay. Still nothing wild. I don't intend to use my signature a lot, so... Sorry, my basic. Yeah, it's okay, dude. Just freeze me, it's okay. I am lacking damage. It's quite an understatement, but yeah, in case you didn't know. I am greatly lacking damage. Now, Flak Gauntlet, in case you didn't know, allows for your melee basic Arcana to destroy projectiles, which is really unimportant to us. Ah, come on, Nox. Why are you being such an asshole today? The only thing I could remotely pick up from over here is the Crimson Clover or potentially the Vampire Fangs if something in here would were to drop the vampire eyeglasses, whatever the hell they're called, right? Oh man, this is obnoxious. Now we do have good defense in here though. Very strong defensive items. Mobius is nice for damage, and it is really our only damage increase. Evening Gloves are okay. I don't intend to use my basic as a damaging tool though. Katana is very nice. It's actually a damage up for once, though not very consistent. The Sprite is okay. I do really like Bone Mail. It's much stronger than the Travel Jacket, and in conjunction with Memory Chamber, I believe this could be very, very good. Now, I want more armor, as this is pretty much a full armor build at this point. I only have one more floor to go, and then boss fights only from that point going forward. So it would be a viable decision to discard the Boots of Frenzy, however, as this is one of the key items of this build, the key item of this build in fact. We don't really want to do that. I don't think we need these Sandy Shoes. Though, again, these in conjunction with Memory Chamber and Calcifying Bomber, as well as the backup revive from Flowered Item, are insane. I have 2 revives. I have a full defense build at this point. So Moby Squirrel saying bye-bye, I suppose, in trade for a heavy travel jacket. The Spell Thief Socks would also be amazing. That's a lot of mobility, which we are not exactly lacking, but can you ever have enough mobility? We are gonna keep the unenhanced Arcana here so we can potentially trade it for a Dr. Songs, maybe? We'll see. And then I feel like I just want to rush the floor. I just want to see the shop and then piss off. Shop in red and piss off. I don't need more money. Aim the dragon towards the threat here that can shoot a projectile, so it can take care of said projectile. Man, my damage is bad. There we go, that's the shop. Trigger the trap. Use the dragon. Don't accidentally proc a mimic. You never know whether or not that is actually a mimic. Of course it was. Love the healing, love the money, thank you very much. Another Nox, and this time it actually gives us one item that isn't entirely garbage, which is the Double Trouble. Though Double Trouble with a build like this, whoo boy, that is painful. It's quite risky. I don't want a Noxus Cloak though, because my god. And this is the 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken, that we are finding Vampire's Fangs. Are you taunting me? Green is pretty much empty. There's just garbage in here that we can't exactly make use of. Yeah. So, might as well move on. Try and look for the exit. Not picking up the double trouble right away because floors are a lot more difficult with this build than bosses who consistently ditch out patterns. So I don't want to be taking double damage right now. I will take that against the bosses, however. Use the projectile part. I'm just looking for the exit. Honestly, I should just be grouping up enemies and getting the hell out of here. Oh, I didn't quite catch him. Not exactly committing to optimal plays here, but that's fine by me. We don't need any upgrades per se, so I'd say let's just get the hell out of here, shall we? So, let's buy a healing pot. And then, what do we get rid of? Well, it's time to get rid of the Boots of Frenzy. And then actually grab the double trouble so we have some damage. Not a lot, albeit, but a little bit. Should come in very handy. Yeah, look at that. That is a lot of damage, my friend. Okay. Let's go. Probably shouldn't have used the healing potion there because I totally forgot I had gem healing. But oh well, what can you do? I also forgot the ball of lightning, but again, oh well, what can you do? It's fine, I'm stuck with this now, I have decent damage. Uh-oh, shouldn't have moved so much. Okay, no issue as predicted. Let's get the upgrade just because. Then move on. I'm not a huge fan of this Arcana. I might use it. It's rather short range though, so I much prefer the Dragon Circuit here. Do this as to catch everyone I've got. We don't need to hit the Dragon Circuit, shish. It's really not that important actually, it barely deals any damage anyway. It's just a nice little health bar. Come on. So much healing. Okay. A little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra healing I see in here. Nothing striking me immediately. The jump is nice, but it's coming a little late, so it's unenhanced, doesn't deal great damage. Our dragon is way stronger. There are no good projectiles in here, so I'll just keep the Dragon Circuit, I suppose. Even though I could also use this. Circuit might come in handy against the Shadow Ball attack. which I have terrible clearing for, right? Circuit is essentially global clearing. It can strike anywhere globally on screen, and it will usually target small enemies or close enemies, so it might come in handy against the Shadow Balls. At least for that fact, that, sorry, not fact, that speculation, I'm going to keep it over something else here, like the Cannonade, which certainly won't hit any Shadow Balls across the screen from me. Merchant's Cart, yay or nay? I am all for yay. That's a lot of extra damage. We are doubling it too, so... what do we get rid of? The Sandy Shoes can come in very handy with this build. Probably the Shawl, as it's just a tiny bit of armor. And then we move on. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Now for the first phase, you would absolutely 100% want to keep the Cannonade equipped, as it deals a lot more damage against a still standing target. I would assume anyway. But we don't need to. We got plenty of damage with this build. Thanks to the Double Trouble. Gonna use the dragon there to take care of the icicles. Okay, he's dead. Didn't even scratch us. We had such a nice defensive build, but that's pretty much always how things turn out. I play like an aggressive idiot with the strongest damage items in the game. I just overcommit and die. I play decently well, dodge things decently well, still sort of overcommit, but somehow they wind up not hitting me. With a purely defensive build, with just pretty much one damage item in it. And I somehow just destroy everything way too quickly before they even get a chance to proc one of my revives. Now the synergy here, in case it's not obvious enough, is that, first of all, Flower Diadem is gonna proc, since I picked it up first. It's gonna proc first. I'm gonna revive with full signature charge, which is fantastic. I am then gonna have a very high evasion chance due to the cow and sandy shoes. And, well, obviously, when you proc this, you will evade attacks naturally for a short period of time afterwards. So you can easily signature into some nice combinations with the Dark Katana and the Double Trouble, and now the Merchant's Card as well. And then I'd still have a second revive with the Horn Halo. What would have been even nicer with this build, instead of maybe the Alchemist Stone or the Jewelry Box, which is quite useless at this point, would have been something like the Blades of Sympathy, where you take damage and you hit enemies back for a short period of time. You will heal rapidly. So we are rapidly healing enemies. Rapidly hitting enemies. Man, what's going on with me today? Just healing ourselves back up with all this armor and then not dying. We are healing ourselves back up from 1 HP from the Kali's Flower Diadem revive, and then not dying, and then proccing another revive, and then rinse and repeat the whole damn thing. We had so much armor going for us. I'm just kind of sad that we didn't get to see any of this unravel. I would have loved tanking an attack or two. Even with the Double Trouble, I think I would have taken like 300 damage at max, which is really not that much considering that I am carrying a Double Trouble with me. Chainmail plus Bone Mail is insane, and then just having flat armor increases. I call them flat, they're not flat, they're percentage based, but it's basically flat compared to a Chainmail. Of the Helmet of Midas, and then the Heavy Travel Jacket, and that's great. I love it. Quite a fun build. I do like playing this. It wasn't so much a challenge. See, until the very end I didn't have the greatest damage and I still could best any foe without the slightest bit of a struggle. Of course, it's always a little iffy when playing a build like this into someone like Freya and then overcommitting and getting frozen. It feels very awkward and like you made a very grave mistake, but trust me, that feeling vanishes with time and with other idiotic plays you watch, committing yourself in real time. So with that having been said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's round just as much as I did. I certainly had a good time. I wouldn't recommend playing this build. I mean, you can, if you like the idea, if this is your cup of tea. Feel free, go ahead. Torture yourself with a very low damage, iffy, wonky to play run. This is not the typical janky build that I consider very fun. It's just like, yeah, it's just jank for the sake of jank, but it works. So, as per usual, I wish you all a good morning, a good day, or a good night, wherever you are. And until next time, bye bye.